Welcome to the Zono Sports Show, where you know Zo knows. Now, we soaked up all the madness for the past month. So much NCAA basketball for us to watch. The Final Four was so lit for the men and the women. If you watched it and paid attention, I watched it all weekend. Now, that's how we wanted it, right? The men's side of everything, South Carolina and Oregon both took L's. Jordan Bell, you gotta chill, sir. You were not the one who caused your team to just lose the game with those 2 rebounds that you couldn't get in the last 5 seconds against North Carolina. Kennedy Meeks came up big in that game. South Carolina and Frank Martin, great season. It's been great for the Carolinas in general. They've dominated college sports, it seems like, from football, from basketball to baseball. They've done it in so many ways. It's unbelievable. Now, Gonzaga and UNC, they topped us off on Monday night and finished us off with a great game. And I'll get to that in a moment. But on the women's side of things, UConn fell at the buzzer to itty bitty Morgan Williams. Now, Morgan Williams, if you did not know her story, 3 weeks ago, as of last week, her father passed away. Now, she came out last week, scored 41 points, and then you followed up with this past weekend. She comes up against UConn, dribbles down the court, 2 seconds left, throws up a heave with one hand, mid-range jumper, and beats UConn at the buzzer. Morgan Williams, isn't she why we love sports? Isn't she the reason why we make up these nicknames and these fascinating stories and scintillating details about what's going on in a person's life that transpires on the court? Morgan Williams from Mississippi State. I really like the moment that you provided us with because you reminded us what March Madness is all about. So Mississippi State, they did knock off that 111 straight wins. Now, does that diminish what UConn has done over the past 3 years and hasn't lost a game since 2014? I look at 2014, I was still in grad school the last time UConn lost a game. So, just graduated. But it's been a long time since they've seen defeat. So it just goes to show anybody can be beaten on any day in football. Goes back to UConn streak, goes back to the Patriots in 2007. I mean, it goes down the line that teams can be beaten no matter how many games they win consecutively. It can happen. So thank you for that moment, Mississippi State. And in the championship game, congrats to Dawn Staley for winning South Carolina's first national title for the school. That was a big accomplishment for the men or women's first national title. Dawn Staley's been a phenomenal WNBA player, been associated with basketball for a long time. It's good to see her experience some amount of success. So congrats to Dawn Staley in South Carolina. Asia Wilson, she's a baller. She is a baller. She deserves it as well. Now on the men's side of things, UNC gets sweet redemption. I watched the game last night. Roy Williams gets his 3-piece, 3rd national title. I can't keep talking about the tip against Kansas and Syracuse and Hakeem Warwick's block. I can't keep talking about that. This guy is a North Carolina guy, coached under Dean Smith, came back, has led this school to 3 national championships. So that speaks volumes about his legacy. Now, no more buzzer beater blues. They had to get over that somehow. I feel bad for guys like Marcus Page. I feel bad for guys like Bryce Johnson. But North Carolina and a lot of those guys, the Kennedy Meekses, the Isaiah Hicks, the Joel Berrys, the Nate Britts, they all were able to get back to that championship game and get the job done. Theo Pinson as well. He got his first dunk in a while early in the game. So I really like this team and what they overcame. The adversity. Now, one thing I do want to touch on, too many fouls called in the second half. When are we going to stop letting referees try and decide the game for us? Now, luckily, these players played through that. The game was good up until the finish. So I like that, but John Higgins is one of the refs that I'll call out. Now, I don't know who was refereeing last night. I'm sure he wasn't one of them. He refereed in the Final Four. But NCAA, you got to talk to these refs about these fouls in college basketball because they're kids. If you're going to call them any fouls, you might as well throw in 6. So they have one extra so we can see the stars play all night. Now, Williams Goss, his last shot that he shot against Kennedy Meeks had no lift on it whatsoever. And I feel bad for him because he twisted his ankle like a minute and a half left in the game. So the fact that he twists that ankle, he can't be effective. They run their offense through my man. So I feel really bad for him. He was very emotional after the game, but you can't control a sprained ankle. You and I both know that, Williams Goss and Gonzaga. Great game. You got there. Adam Morrison. Did you see my man? No mustache. I don't know how to feel about that, Adam Morrison. But Gonzaga, the recruiting will go through the roof. But let's not forget, in North Carolina, the ceiling is the roof. So Michael Jordan said it himself. It's got to be true, right? But great national championship win. I know there was comments about would I be Chris Webber, I think, was commentating and said something along the lines. And if it wasn't Chris Webber, I'm sorry. But whoever was commentating and said something about Kris Jenkins sitting behind the North Carolina bench and it maybe having an effect on those players because of what happened the year before, I think that's false. He came and played pickup ball with those guys. Come on now. He knows those guys. His brother plays on the team. I'm pretty sure they Snapchat, FaceTime. He talks to all those guys. They're still just players. I don't think that would really have that much of an effect on a champion. And North Carolina proved they're champions. So let's give credit where credit's due, but let's lay off Kris Jenkins. I mean, his brother plays for them. Of course he's going to sit behind the bench, right? So shout out to Carolina. That's Clemson and North Carolina. The ACC took home football and basketball national championships. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. A lot of money to that conference. Bring some of that cheese to Louisville. Get us Cardinals some new uniforms. Now, NBA-wise, time for Zoe to question the king. LeBron James. LeBron, how do you want to be remembered? Sunday, of course, we all saw the skirmish between him and Tristan Thompson. Now, that beef was very apparent that there's a lot of frustration in the Cavs locker room because, yeah, they were 6-10 in the month of March. They haven't played great down the stretch, going into the playoffs, and everybody knows that Chef Curry and the boys are cooking and lurking, and KD is in the background, and he's going to stop dancing soon and step right up front and grab the mic. And when that happens, I'm not sure that LeBron is going to be ready to handle that in the finals, if they even get there, because you have to go through the Great Wall of D.C. as well as the fourth quarter killer in Boston. So, LeBron, can you do that? I don't think LeBron is the guy that people think he is. That's not being a leader. That's being a guy who feels like he's entitled. He's earned this right to be called the king in the NBA, and he can say and do whatever he wants to anybody, any of his teammates. LeBron, I'm sorry to tell you, Tristan Thompson checked you on national television. He let you know, hey, bro, it's your fault. And all that pointing and stuff that you're doing, it's ridiculous. Teammates look at that, and they get tired of it, even if you are the star. So I'm glad Stephen A. Smith called him a crybaby, because all he does is all he's ever done and still does is cry. Every foul, every ticky-tack touch. LeBron, you'll cry about every foul and then say in an interview after the game, I'm a football player. You're not a football player. You're a basketball player. So stop crying about calls, LeBron, and just play hoops. Stop blaming your teammates. Now, Russell Westbrook, to me, is 100% better than LeBron. Why do I say that? The man plays hard every night. 2 surgically repaired knees. Comes, brings it. He will run through a wall for himself, for a teammate, to get a win. People say, oh, he does too much. No, Russell Westbrook doesn't care. He feels as though, yeah, I'll pass it. Yeah, I'll get rebounds. You know, he creates so many possessions. People talk about his turnovers. When you play as hard as Russ plays, the turnovers honestly don't matter. They cancel themselves out. He plays so hard. He gives you so much effort. You can't be upset with that. You have to take what comes with it. It's like a hurricane. You know, hurricane will knock everything down, but in its purest form, you can appreciate the eye of the storm. So let's not let what Russell Westbrook does go unnoticed. LeBron's just a guy who in 2003, I was in middle school, happened to get so much hype when he was at St. Vincent St. Mary's. But in all actuality, I don't think LeBron's like that. He is like that. Yeah, he's a great player, an all-time great. But let's see what Russell Westbrook does down the stretch with nobody but him being the star. Let's see what happens if he goes to L.A. and Magic Johnson gets him there and he plays another 10 years. Let's see what happens. Could he pass LeBron for championships? Maybe. Because I think he cares more about getting out there every night than LeBron does. LeBron feels like he's paid his dues, right? That's what he said, right? So I'll take Westbrook any day over this guy. Moving right along, NFL-wise, Tony Romo was announced this morning. He's leaving football for TV. Now, Tony, it's sad to see you go, but we understand why you're leaving. So, Tony, definitely do your thing, man. Good luck with that. Tony Romo was a great quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, but the back is just not healthy. And at some point, a football player has to assess, is it really worth my lifestyle and the quality of living? So I respect Tony Romo for doing what he's doing. Now, let's not forget, opening day for Major League Baseball was on Sunday night with the Cubs and the Cardinals. And they played some baseball yesterday. They'll play some today. Hasn't been gotten talked about too much because, of course, we had NCAA basketball going on. But now we've got some baseball. We've got some just NBA. It's simple right now. So we'll have some baseball juice And shout out to Austin Matthews for becoming the first American-born player to score, I want to say 30-something points. Or excuse me, yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. But congrats to Austin Matthews. So he's a great, phenomenal hockey player for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I look forward to seeing how he continues to develop and take the torch from Ovechkin and Crosby as they continue to age. So Jack Eichel and Austin Matthews, you guys got to raise the bar and be what Kras and Ovech were. Now check out the next show on Thursday. Love talking with you all. And thank you for watching the Zono Sports Show, where you know Zono.